So, Derek, a pretty devastating thing is happening to Pokemon, where on February 26th, 2027, around 4 months from now, Pokémon Bank is closing down. And I know some people might not be aware of the repercussions of this, because this used to be kind of what Pokemon Home was, where you just sort of stored your Pokemon in the cloud. And this closing down, it does affect that, but it's also the middleman between getting Pokemon from the DS all the way to 3DS and then the Switch. So closing that off is kind of shutting down the whole era of Pokemon, and with that, every possible transfer from Game Boy Advance and DS and 3DS. So that is to say, after February of next year, the only Pokemon you'll be able to catch are on Switch and Switch 2.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to think about because we're so far out from the DS and the 3DS, and if you wanted to start now to start collecting them from those old games, you're going to be paying a lot of money, because I've seen used Pokemon prices and they are not cheap in the slightest. And even the way to get the virtual console versions of these Pokemon games that do interact with the bank are basically closed off now. So a lot of the active use of Pokemon Bank is down, but for those still using it, it is the end of an era. There was this way of grabbing these old games that you used to have and then using the Pokemon, bringing up the Pokemon, making it much more easily to have like a living dex, which is a goal of a lot of people, is strange in a lot of ways. It's like, man, it really does feel like an end of an era. It's not something I ever actively use because I just never bothered to give a living dex or worried about trying to transfer everything up in order to have it all in one place. That just was never a goal of mine for Pokemon. I just always sort of took the anime approach. It's a fresh start. Let's see what we have there and catch what I have and enjoy it that way. So it's something that doesn't personally affect me, but I get why it affects other people and why this honestly kind of sucks in a lot of ways. But I think it's also been long enough that I don't feel like the pressure is too bad.
It's more just the fact that you can do it. Like, you can take Pokemon from your childhood and bring them forward. Like, I'm like you, where I start over each time. But I think I've done it twice in videos now, where I've taken Game Boy Advance Pokemon and I trade them to Diamond and Pearl by having the cartridge in the bottom of the DS, and then trade them to Black and White by having two DSs next to each other, and then trade them to the 3DS, like with Pokemon Transporter, which then goes into Pokemon Bank, which then goes into X and Y, and Omega Ruby, and Alpha Sapphire, and Sun and Moon. But like, it's also kind of part of why this has always been a problem, though, because Bank has been cloud-based, and I've never quite trusted that ecosystem of putting Pokemon in an online vault, because I think we all knew this was going to happen one day. We've had Pokemon Banks before, like Pokemon Box on GameCube, or My Pokemon Ranch on WiiWare, where you can store your Pokemon in just an offline, larger capacity system, whether it's a GameCube memory card or the Wii storage. Like, that was... It's hard to call that ideal, but like, it was more reliable in a way, because it wasn't going to go anywhere. You can still, to this very day, take Pokemon from Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald and bring them all the way to Pokemon Black and White too. But that's going to be the cutoff point. Like, you just stop there. And every 3DS game is going to be on its own little island, because X and Y can't transfer to Sun and Moon. X and Y can't transfer to Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. The only way you could have traded your Pokemon was by putting them into Bank and then taking them out of Bank. So that's just all cut off now.
It's crazy to think that you just don't have that opportunity anymore to bring forward those Pokemon. Because I'm already seeing people's like, oh man, I like doing this. It was just fun to go back and play old games and then bring up that team and have that team available and existing that I can use for the newer games if I so want to. That sort of idea. And just continually use the home in that way and bank in that way. It feels like a bit of an unwieldy system, just with how much you have to just go back and forth in order to do all of it. But I think there's also something's happening because the end of service is February 25th. That is, isn't that really close to Pokemon Day?
You can see how they're kind of trying to shove this under the rug, right? Because they also announced Fire Red and Leaf Green home support for October at the same time. And on this day they're going to be releasing like more legacy Pokemon games, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. They're going to wow, you lost out on those old games, but hey, guess what? You can buy them again for $30 and start all over.
Yeah.
Which, not ideal. But this is a cycle that Pokemon's had to go through once before, with the fact that you couldn't get your Game Boy games,
right.
your
but
original.
On the other side, though, they made the Game Boy games forward compatible on 3DS with the original Game Boy and Game Boy Color ones. So they found a way to do it then, but that's likewise going to be impossible to go forward from. And you can always resell these games, which is probably what they're doing. There's going to be a point at some time in the future where I'm sure every legacy Pokemon game is probably going to be on Switch and Switch 2. But that doesn't do a whole lot for those legacy games, the legacy cartridges, the original ones. You've got until February to figure that out, to get all that stuff over. But Pokemon doesn't just die in a few months. Pokemon's this eternal thing. People are always getting those original cartridges. And it does suck that that's going to be an impossible thing. It's not just you have 4 more months to do it. These are really eternal games.
Yeah, it's easy to go back, grab some more, work on that living dex. I've seen people actively play older versions of Pokemon, so to be able to bring that forward to whenever Winds and Waves comes out is an ideal to have that available, have that ready. Somebody is playing a version of Pokemon at all times. There's no doubt in my mind.
They're doing it right now. Someone's just caught a shiny in Pokemon Soul Silver now. I'm sure someone did, and they want to transfer that over.
You want to preserve that. You don't want it stuck there. That's no fun.
And then there's also a few other boundaries too, like Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and Colosseum on the Switch 2. They don't let you transfer your Pokemon. So being able to transfer between Ruby and Sapphire and those two GameCube games, that was possible on original hardware, but it's not now. So even if they do preserve it all, they still got some features which aren't being used, which that's a shame. That does suck.
Yeah,
I don't think we're ever really going to return to how good it could have been.
No, I don't think so, because I can't see them ever having any kind of interaction between Pokemon Colosseum and Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. Yeah, right. Though if we get Ruby and Sapphire on there, I don't think we're going to get the ability to transfer the games in there. Have to use the rentals like you do with Pokemon Stadium. And if you're missing out a good chunk of Pokemon Stadium because of the lack of transfer, because you can only use rental Pokemon in that game. It's being able to use your team matters, whatever form that takes. And so to lose sort of a massive connecting link when it comes to Pokemon Bank is absolutely a big deal. And it also calls into the question how long is Pokemon Home going to be supported?
That's a good question. It seems like this one's a bit more set in stone. As soon as the 3DS ended, Bank kind of ended with it. Home encompasses Pokemon Go, all the mainline Switch games, the Legends ones. It does seem like this will probably be what they have forever.
A bit more robust, a bit more eternal, essentially.
Yeah, even Champions is using it. Most things seem to connect to Home. But it's that one-way streak, though. You put it in a box, and then you put it, take it out of the box. I do kind of miss, the funky little ways they'd have of trying to bring Pokemon forward. You have, little mini-games transferring them to DS. You'd go to,
really?
a little safari, and you'd have to find the Pokemon you're trying to transfer. What was it? Was it, convenient? No, but it had a little charm to it. Whereas now it's put them in Home, put them in the next game.
Yeah, that little UI charm is definitely disappearing as time goes on because people just want to get the thing they want So, it's a little. I get it. It's like, do you want the charm or do you want to have the ability to get it there? Can I have an option? Can I, because I might be in the mood, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a weird one, but they're already trying to it's also really funny. We didn't mention this as part of the whole Fire Red and Leaf Green connection coming in October. Complete your Pokedex and you get Celebi.
Just a little carrot on a stick. Like, come on, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, oh, it's a Pokemon on a stick. Oh my gosh, well, we got to do that. So it's a way to get people to start collecting, start completing, start doing that, so they're ready for Pokemon Home, so they're ready for the transfers, and it doesn't feel like, oh, I got to do this again. It's like, oh, I get a thing again. I get a mythical Pokemon again.
Yeah. It should be commended that this happened for 30 years in the first place. Like, no other franchise has done that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you can give too much credit, because it's like that kind of was a huge appeal of the franchise. Like, everything you do can last forever. So to lose that just sucks. And yeah. And who's
to say we're going to get, original Game Boy versions, because have those to be able to transfer up.
Do they see Fire Red and Leaf Green as the Gen 1 games? Like, are they going to do the original Game Boy ones?
Exactly. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. And then maybe start doing DS. Get Diamond and Pearl.
So they clearly have a roadmap of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't make it any better. But I think you'll probably still be at a point many years in the future where you'll be able to play every Pokemon game on Switch 2 and put them all in home. So I think you'll still be able to do this stuff, but I don't know, just having like a game that's 30 years old and bringing it forward to the modern day, like that's just such a cool thing that it can't be replicated with the digital re-release. It's just like that tangible, like taking it from Game Boy Advance, putting it on DS, putting it on 3DS, putting it on Switch, like just moving through the years with it. Mm-hmm. That's something I think you'll never be able to experience again. So do it now while you can, I guess.
Yeah, take advantage of that time. You might be playing some Pokemon as we go into the fall to prepare for all of this and get those old games up there. If it's if there's certain Pokemon that you want to grab, certain teams you want to use, it's a weird thing of like you understand the passion behind it, but you also you understand like, man, it stinks, but you get it. how many other 30-year-old things are still being supported in this day and age? Really, it's just like, it's crazy.
But always trust My Pokemon Ranch. Keep your Pokemon there. Don't put them in home. Put them in their little chibi forms. Trust them there. That's what we trust them. But anyway, I think that's probably about it for now. It just blows to have an entire era cut off, and that cut off era stops any other era connecting. Right. But that's the reality right now. Trust the ranch, don't trust the bank. And we'll catch you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We're saying ranch is forever. You can't download ranch anymore.